A ceasefire between India and Pakistan appears to be holding at least for the last almost 36 hours or so, despite initial violations of the ceasefire by Pakistan just hours after reaching an understanding to cease firing from 5 p.m. on Saturday. Explosions rocked several parts of Kashmir just 3 hours after the truce was announced on Saturday. But visuals coming in this morning again show a sense of peace and calm across India's western borders. These are visuals that we received Aknoor. We also saw visuals from Punj earlier. These are visuals from Aknoor coming in this morning, as well as many other places in Jammu Kashmir, as well as Punjab, Rajasthan and Gujarat. Well, of course, that is the big story that we will continue tracking all day today. Firozpur in Punjab also seems, at least early morning visuals suggest that there is peace and there are no reports of any violations on India's airspace, as well as any shelling received from the other side. These are visuals from Punj in Kashmir early morning today, suggesting no more shelling, no more violation of Indian airspace. Meanwhile, India has inflicted tremendous losses to the Pakistan military, including downing a few of its fighter jets and damaging key military installations close to even the Pakistan capital Islamabad during the three-day confrontation between India and Pakistan. The Director General of Military Operations, Air Operations and Navy Operations yesterday evening briefed the media on the chilling details of the military precision with which Operation Sindoor was indeed carried out. Indian Armed Forces launched a fierce counter-attack on several Pakistani military installations, including Pakistani airfields and air defense infrastructure, including airstrikes by the Indian Air Force on Rafiki, Murid, Chakala, Rahim Yar Khan, Sukur and Chunian on Saturday morning. Now, visuals of critical Pakistani military infrastructure, both before India's strikes and after, were presented by the Director General Air Operations, Air Marshal A.K. Bharti, yesterday. The strikes were launched after the Pakistan military attempted to target major Indian installations on the intervening night of May 9th and May 10th. By launching swarms of drones into Indian skies that were successfully brought down by India's mighty air defense. Now remember, Operation Sindoor was launched early on May 7th to destroy 9 terror infrastructure targets in Pakistan as well as Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in retaliation to the Pahalgam terror attack on April 22nd that claimed as many as 26 civilian lives. Now, all subsequent retaliations to Pakistani offences were carried out under Operation Sindoor. Now, Lieutenant General Ghai yesterday said that Operation Sindoor was conceptualized with a clear military aim to punish the perpetrators and planners of terrorist strikes on India. Meanwhile, Director General Air Operations Air Marshal A.K. Bharti said at the media briefing yesterday that the Indian Air Force has achieved all the objectives that it selected and all our pilots are back home safe and sound. The senior air officer was asked about reports in the foreign media about losses to Indian fighter jets. Now, Air Marshal Bharti also said India definitely downed several Pakistani planes but refused to give an exact number. He, however, affirmed that Pakistan Air Force fighters were prevented from coming inside India's border, so India does not have the wreckage. But the Indian Air Force has definitely downed a few Pakistani Air Force fighter jets. Listen in.
All right, I'm happy that you've asked this question. You know, we are in a combat scenario and losses are a part of combat. The question that you must ask us, okay, and indeed that we must ask ourselves, you inclusive, is have we achieved our objectives? Have we achieved our objective of decimating that terrorist camp? And the answer is a thumping yes. And the results are for the whole world to see. As for the details, what could have been, how many numbers, which platform did we lose? You know, at this time, I would not like to comment on that because we are still in a combat situation. And if I comment, on anything, it will only be advantage adversary. So we don't want to give him any advantage at this stage. All I can say is that we have achieved our objectives that we selected, and all our pilots are back home.
All right, Indian Air Force, the Director General of Air Operations there, Air Marshal A.K. Bharti, saying that India has achieved all the objectives that it selected for Operation Sindoor. Meanwhile, Director General of Military Operations, Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai, said 35 to 40 Pakistani military personnel were killed in combat, and New Delhi achieved its desired objectives, and that Pakistan will have to pay a very heavy price if it resorts to any more misadventure. Lieutenant General Ghai said over 100 terrorists, including high-value targets such as Yusuf Azhar, Abdul Malik Rauf and Mudassir Ahmad, who were involved in the hijacking of IC-814 back in 1999 and the Pulwama blast, were eliminated during Operation Sindoor early on May 7th. The DGMO also paid tribute to 5 Indian fallen heroes and civilians who tragically lost their lives during Operation Sindoor. The DGMO further said that India has thus far exercised immense restraint and actions have been focused, measured and non-escalatory. However, any threat to the sovereignty, territorial integrity and safety of Indian citizens will be met with decisive force. The DGMO also said it was his Pakistani counterpart who made a call to him on Saturday afternoon requesting a way out to stop the hostilities. On losses to the Pakistani military, the DGMO said there are reports of 35 to 40 fatalities. Listen in.
On land, we also undertook certain measures such as deployment of air defense and electronic warfare assets to establish an integrated grid with the Indian Air Force, and I have seen and heard some of you wax eloquent about the benefits of such an architecture when it comes to negating and combating air intrusions. We also carried out deployment to include movement of our forces in the land, sea and air domains. The night of the 9th and the 10th of May saw similar intrusions by drones and aircrafts, and this time there was a concerted effort to target airfields and some very, very important logistic installations, albeit yet again unsuccessful and denied gallantly and efficiently, I must say, by the integrated Indian Air Force and Indian Army Air Defense. We further strengthened our deployment and also initiated some pressure points to send a very clear and unambiguous message to the other side to desist from any misadventures on land. Some of the airfields and dumps saw repeated attacks in waves from the air. All were thwarted. The Pakistan Army has reported to have lost approximately 35 to 40 personnel in artillery and small arms firing on the line of control between the 7th and the 10th of May. What the other side had probably also not reckoned with was the speedy and precise turnaround and hit back by the Indian Air Force. This was with an obvious intent to deduce and identify the exact vector that was required for their neutralization, as also the eyes in the sky that we would send up to ensure that we brought back evidence that we had indeed targeted what we set out to. The precise images of these engagements on that fateful and historical night have already been showcased during the first press statement on the 7th of May that was helmed by our Foreign Secretary. I have no doubt in my mind that we achieved total surprise, and those strikes across those 9 terror hubs left more than 100 terrorists killed, including high-value targets such as Yusuf Azhar, Abdul Malik Rauf, and Mudassir Ahmed that were involved in the hijack of IC-814 and the Pulwama blast. The line of control was also violated soon after by Pakistan, and the erratic and rattled response of our enemy was apparent from the number of civilians, inhabited villages, and religious sites such as Gurudwaras that were unfortunately hit by them, leading to a sad loss of lives. The Indian Air Force played a major part in these strikes by engaging some of these camps, and the Indian Navy provided wherewithal in terms of precision munitions. The Indian Air Force obviously had their assets up in the sky